The first reason the Iraq War was a mistake is because it was a massive waste of resources. For years, 70% of the global war on terror's budget went into funding the Iraq War, and for that same amount of time, about 130,000 troops were used to hold down Iraq, and while around 20,000 were fought in Afghanistan. If there had been 150,000 troops at the beginning of Operation Enduring Freedom, it's possible the U.S. would have gotten Osama bin Laden a lot sooner than it originally did. The number of soldiers killed has hit almost 5,000 and around 30,000 wounded. But these soldiers could have been deployed elsewhere instead of this wasteful and unavoidable war. So far, the U.S. has spent over $800 billion on this war. Another big issue is the current state of affairs in Iraq. Things were better off under Saddam Hussein. However brutal, he kept order. He was really good at that. He fought a brutal war with Iran in the 80s, and Osama bin Laden wanted to wage war against him in the Gulf War. As we can see, he is hardly a man who supports terrorist groups, regardless of how evil he was. He managed to keep things under control in Iraq. Islamic radicals would quickly find themselves on the receiving end of the wrath of a genocidal dictator if he was still in power. On top of the huge resources wasted both in money and lives, it was a strategic error on the part of the U.S. The Islamic radicals from Saudi Arabia as well as Iran now have made a much wider pool of people to recruit from. The whole country has many insurgents running around fighting with Americans and killing them. The insurgency in Iraq took a lot of damage at the hands of U.S. forces during the surge, and it isn't as bad. It wasn't as bad as it was for a while, but then it came back. The new Iraq army will be fighting this war forever, and sooner or later, it will fall into the hands of an Islamic republic, or be turned into one, and it will be hostile to the U.S. On that same note, did I mention that ISIS was spawned because of the Iraq War? If I did, I sure wish I had sooner. A lot of senior officers in the Iraqi army were left without a job once the Saddam Arab military was disbanded completely. The Iraq War was not only a mistake, but there were a number of political and strategic blunders that happened after the invasion. George W. Bush and Donald Rumsfeld just expected everything to magically get organized and fall into place as soon as the invasion was over. The previous Ba'athist top brass quickly got in line with the Sunni radicals like Al-Qaeda. The fall of Iraq and the removal of Saddam and Baathism was pretty much the finishing blow to the Arab nationalism, which was in its prime shortly before the Six-Day War. Now, pretty much the only place these guys could fight the U.S. or find employment was among the Sunni, or in some cases Shiite radicals. After the U.S. withdrawal, these guys morphed into ISIS, and by 2014 they had established themselves within a good amount of territory within both Iraq and Syria, arming themselves with equipment they took from the new Iraqi army after they kicked the hell out of them. ISIS has since lost most of its ground. It looks like it's on the way. It's on the verge of defeat, at least in a conventional sense. This does not change the fact that ISIS did a lot of damage and cost a lot of money and lives in the efforts to take it down. In closing, I hope you will walk away with this, if nothing else. Nation building is a failure. It worked after World War II, but it really doesn't work in these Middle Eastern nations. They are too fragmented, too tribal, and their culture is too different from ours for it to work. If any future war happens in that part of the world, which they will, and the U.S. is involved, which it will be, we just need to go in, destroy the enemy, and get the fuck out, and then repeat as many times as possible. As many times as needed, at least. Most of the costs of the Iraq War in both blood and treasure happened after W gave his mission accomplished speech. I would also like to note that it is a blessing that for every American that we have a Secretary of Defense like James Mattis and not Donald Rumsfeld. I did not say Rumsfeld, I said Rumsfeld, because that's what he is. It is my hope that Trump and all presidents of the future take heed to this and plan accordingly. Well, that concludes my video. It's one of my educational ones. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And if you can, leave a donation. It's for a real good cause. Peace.